She landed quietly in the middle of a dark forest. The trees tall and strange, their leaves glowing faintly in the night. She had never seen a place like this before. Her heart beat fast, every sound making her jump. She expected humans to be waiting, ready to capture or hurt her. Her body ached from the long journey across space, and she stumbled slightly, feeling the cool grass under her feet. She looked around, trying to find shelter. Her mind was full of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of humans, and fear of being alone. She had been trained to survive in hostile places, but nothing had prepared her for this. From a distance, she saw small lights flickering, and her eyes widened. They looked like humans moving carefully between the shadows. She crouched behind a tree, holding her breath, wondering if they had already seen her. Her instincts told her to run, but curiosity held her in place. One human moved differently than the others. He was slower, calmer, watching the surroundings carefully. Not like the others who seemed ready to attack anything strange. She tilted her head, studying him. Wondering if he was friend or enemy, her mind raced, every possibility running through her thoughts. The forest was silent, except for the faint rustling of leaves. She stepped carefully, trying not to make a sound. Her every step was calculated. She had learned to move like this to survive. The human seemed to notice something, and he paused. Looking in her direction, she froze, expecting him to shout or throw something at her. But he did not. He simply stood there, calm and still. And that surprised her. Her heart slowed slightly. She had never seen a human behave this way. Not this close, not so calm. She wondered if he understood her, or if he was just confused. She decided to wait, watching him from behind the trees. Minutes passed, the forest still around them. The human moved slowly, picking up small objects from the ground. He seemed more interested in examining things than finding her. She tilted her head, curiosity growing. Could a human really be this different from the ones she had feared? Could he be safe? She had to find out. She stepped closer, keeping to the shadows. Her body tense, every nerve alert. She could feel the wind on her skin, could hear the faint sound of water nearby. The human looked up suddenly, and their eyes met for a brief moment. She expected anger, fear, or attack, but he simply smiled slightly. A gentle motion, not threatening. Her breath caught. She had never seen this expression on a human before. It was strange, confusing, and for a moment, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. A flicker of hope. Could this human be different? Could he be the one who would not hurt her? She moved a little closer, testing him. Her hands shaking slightly. She had been trained to fight, to defend herself, but not to trust so quickly. The human watched her carefully, but did not move. His calmness was strange, almost magnetic. She felt drawn to him, even though her mind screamed to stay away. Suddenly, a sound came from the trees behind her, a snapping branch, and her body tensed. She expected the human to react aggressively, to protect himself, but instead, he looked behind him, then signaled for her to stay calm. She did not understand, but she obeyed. Her curiosity stronger than her fear. She stepped out from the shadows, slowly, carefully, her eyes never leaving his face. The human reached out a hand, not to grab her, but as a gesture of peace. She froze, her instincts screaming danger, but something in his eyes told her he meant no harm. Something she could not explain. She took a small step forward, then another, her body still tense, but her mind opening slightly to the idea that humans could be more than what she had feared. The human offered her a small piece of food, something simple but kind. She hesitated, then took it. Tasting the strange flavor, it was not like anything she had eaten before, but it was safe and warm. A strange feeling filled her, curiosity mixed with relief. She had expected him to kill her, to hurt her, but instead, he had done something completely unexpected. She studied his face, trying to understand, trying to predict. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Waiting for the next move, she realized she had a choice: to run and hide like she had planned, or to trust this human and see where it would lead. Her heart still beat fast, but her fear was slowly replaced with something new, something dangerous yet exciting. She chose to stay for now, just a little longer. Watching him, learning from him, her journey on this strange planet had only just begun, and she knew the real adventure was about to start. The alien girl stayed behind the tree for a moment, watching the human closely. His calmness was unlike anything she had expected. Her mind raced with questions. Who was he? Why was he different from the others? She took a deep breath and stepped fully into the light. Her feet felt heavy, but her curiosity pushed her forward. The human did not move. He only smiled again and gestured for her to follow him. She hesitated, remembering all the stories she had heard about humans, how dangerous they could be. Her instincts screamed to run, but something inside her wanted to understand this one. She took a slow step forward, then another, until she stood a few meters away from him. He extended his hand again, this time holding a small glowing object. She frowned, unsure if it was a trap. Her body tensed, ready to react if he made a sudden move, but he simply held it out. Silent and patient, the glow was soft, warm, almost inviting. Her eyes widened. She could feel a strange pull toward it. Carefully, she reached out and touched the object, and a gentle light spread across her palm. It did not burn. It did not harm her. Instead, it felt comforting. As if it wanted her to trust, her heart beat faster. She did not understand why she felt safe, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a spark of hope. The human nodded slowly, as if he understood her thoughts. Then he turned and began to walk slowly through the forest. Motioning for her to follow, she moved cautiously behind him, keeping a few steps back, her senses alert, listening for any danger. Every shadow, every rustle made her pause. She had trained herself for survival. But this was different. This was unfamiliar. As they walked, she noticed how he moved, careful and quiet, yet confident. He avoided broken branches and moved past strange plants as if he had walked here many times. She wondered, how much did he know about this place? And why was he helping her? The forest seemed alive around them. Strange sounds echoing through the trees, and distant lights blinking like stars in the dark. Suddenly, a low growl came from the bushes ahead. Her body froze, every muscle tense. She expected him to attack or flee, but he only paused, crouching slightly, and his eyes scanned the darkness. The growl grew louder, and from the shadows emerged a large creature, its eyes glowing red, its claws scraping the ground. Her heart leapt into her throat. The human did not panic. He moved slowly toward the creature and held his hands out, almost as if speaking to it without words. She blinked, unable to understand. How could he face such a dangerous creature without fear? The creature stopped, sniffing the air, then tilted its head. Watching him carefully, and surprisingly, it stepped aside. Letting them pass, she gasped silently, amazed and confused. Humans were supposed to be weak, slow, and afraid. Yet this one seemed different. Something inside her shifted, a new thought forming. Maybe humans were not all the same. Maybe some could be brave. Maybe some could be kind. She felt a strange pull toward him, trust growing slowly, though she did not fully understand it yet. They continued walking, and the forest grew denser, the shadows deeper. Strange sounds surrounded them, some familiar, some alien. Her ears twitched at every movement. Her eyes scanned every corner. Ready for danger, the human seemed unbothered, calm, almost like he belonged here. She wondered what secrets he held. What made him different from all the others? After some time, they reached a small clearing, a hidden place with soft moss and strange glowing flowers. The human knelt down and gestured for her to rest. She lowered herself carefully, still wary, watching him closely. He did not speak, but his eyes were gentle, and the way he moved showed care, something she had never expected from a human. She glanced around, the forest dark and mysterious. Feeling both fear and curiosity, she wanted to ask questions, but words felt heavy. Her throat dry, her mind racing. What was he? Why was he helping her? Were there more like him? Could she ever trust anyone else? The suspense tightened around her like a rope. She could feel her heartbeat in her ears. Suddenly, a distant sound of human voices came from beyond the trees. Harsh and loud, she froze. Recognizing the tone, hostility, they were looking for her. She realized her fear was not gone. It had only changed. She had to decide. Run and hide as she had planned, or trust this human to help her. Her instincts screamed to flee, but her heart hesitated. The human noticed her tension and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. A silent promise of protection. She felt a strange warmth, a feeling she had not known in a long time, confusion and fear mixed with hope. She wanted to ask him how he could be so calm, but no words came. She realized she was learning something new, about humans, about trust, about courage. The hostile voices grew closer, and the shadows seemed to stretch. She felt the weight of danger pressing down on her, yet she did not run. She stayed, ready to follow this human, ready to see what would happen next. The suspense hung thick in the air, every rustle, every shadow, every light in the distance making her pulse faster. She had expected the human to be like all the others, to harm her, to scare her. But he was completely different, and in that moment, she understood that the real story was only beginning. She had stepped into a world she did not understand, a world where humans could surprise her, where danger and kindness existed side by side, and she had no choice but to follow, to learn, to discover what made this human so unique. The alien girl followed the human deeper into the forest, the strange glowing plants brushing against her skin. Her senses were alert, every sound making her flinch. The forest seemed alive, whispering secrets she could not understand. And yet the human moved calmly, almost as if he belonged there. She glanced at him, trying to understand his calmness. His eyes were sharp, scanning every shadow, every movement. And yet there was something gentle in the way he carried himself. She wondered what made him different, why he was helping her when every other human would have tried to capture or harm her. After a long walk, they reached a hidden cave, almost invisible behind thick vines and rocks. The human motioned for her to enter first. She stepped inside cautiously, the air cool and damp, and the faint glow of crystals on the walls lit the space. She looked around, amazed. This place felt safe, yet mysterious. Inside the cave, the human showed her a small fire he had built. The flickering flames cast strange shadows on the walls. Making the cave look alive, he gestured for her to sit. And slowly, almost shyly, she lowered herself, her body still tense, but her curiosity stronger than her fear. He reached into a small bag and pulled out simple food, something she had never tasted before. He offered it to her, and she hesitated, but hunger won over. She took it cautiously, her hands shaking. The food was warm, filling, and somehow comforting. She looked up at him, a mixture of surprise and curiosity in her eyes. He did not speak, but his eyes met hers, and she felt something she had not felt in a long time, safety, and maybe even trust. She had expected humans to kill her, to see her as weak or strange. But he treated her like she mattered, like she was not an enemy. As she ate, she noticed small devices and strange objects around the cave. Tools, gadgets, and maps, some showing stars and planets she recognized. She tilted her head, intrigued. Could he be a scientist? An explorer? Someone who understood worlds beyond her own? Her curiosity grew, and for the first time, she wanted to know more about him. Suddenly, a sound came from the entrance. A faint rustle. She tensed immediately. Reaching for a weapon she did not have, the human moved quickly, standing between her and the cave opening. His body calm but ready, his eyes scanned the shadows. And then he motioned for her to stay calm. She hesitated, unsure if she could trust him fully yet. From the darkness came the shape of another human. Aggressive and rough, looking for her, she gasped, expecting a fight, expecting chaos. But the human did not attack. He spoke softly. Words she did not understand. But the tone was commanding, almost magnetic. The other human paused, confused, and then slowly backed away, retreating into the forest. She blinked, amazed and confused. How could he do this? How could he control another human without a fight? He turned to her, his eyes calm, and gestured for her to follow. She felt a new feeling inside, awe mixed with trust. Maybe humans were not all the same. Maybe some were more than she had imagined. They stayed in the cave for a while, the fire crackling, shadows dancing around them. The human moved carefully, checking the entrance and making small signs with his hands. She realized he was more than just brave. He was clever, strategic, and somehow in tune with the world around him. She wanted to ask him how he learned all of this. But words felt heavy. The forest outside was quiet for a moment. But she knew it would not last. Danger was still near. And there were others searching for her. She wondered how he always seemed to know. How he could protect her without panic. She felt a strange connection forming. A bond she could not explain. A trust that was growing despite her fears. He finally motioned for her to rest, and she did, her body sinking into the soft moss, her mind racing with thoughts of him, of the danger outside, of what kind of humans could be like this. She realized her journey on this planet was far from over, and that the real lessons were only beginning. As the fire flickered, she looked at him again, studying his face, his calm expression. His presence was strange, comforting, and full of mystery. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement, knowing that whatever happened next, her life would change. She had expected a human to kill her, to strike first, but instead he had offered safety, food, and understanding, and in that moment, she understood a truth she had never considered. Humans were unpredictable. Dangerous, yes, but some could be kind, clever, and brave. She had only just begun to understand him, and yet she knew that trusting him could be the only way to survive. The suspense of what lay ahead tightened around her like a rope, pulling her deeper into the unknown. She looked at him once more, and for the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she could believe in humans again. The cave was safe for now. But the forest outside still held shadows, threats, and secrets. And she knew that tomorrow, or maybe even tonight, the real test of trust and courage would come. The next morning, the forest seemed alive with movement. Strange sounds echoing through the trees. The alien girl stirred from the moss, her body tense, sensing something was different. She looked at the human, who was already awake, scanning the forest with sharp, alert eyes. He had not slept much, but his calmness remained, a quiet strength that made her feel safe. They left the cave slowly, the human leading the way, careful and deliberate. Every step he took seemed measured, as if he could sense danger before it appeared. She followed closely, her senses stretched to the limit. The shadows of the trees shifted strangely, making the forest feel alive. Every rustle made her heart leap. Every distant cry made her palms sweat. Suddenly, they heard the faint sound of voices. Human voices, harsh and hurried. She froze. Recognizing the tone immediately, they were coming for her. And not just any humans. These were hunters. Trained and dangerous. She looked at the human beside her, expecting him to panic, expecting him to run, but he did not. He crouched behind a large tree. Motioning for her to do the same, she obeyed. Her body pressed against the rough bark. Listening, waiting, the hunters came closer. Their footsteps heavy, their voices commanding. They were looking for her. She knew it. She felt her fear spike, but also a strange sense of trust toward the human beside her. He raised a hand silently, and she noticed the way his eyes moved. Calculating, analyzing, her curiosity mixed with awe. How could he remain so calm, so prepared, in the face of danger? He seemed to know exactly what to do, and yet he made no sound, not a whisper, not a movement that would give them away. The hunters paused nearby, scanning the area. Unaware of their presence, the alien girl held her breath, her small chest rising and falling quickly. She felt the tension in the air like a heavy weight. Every second felt stretched. As if time had slowed, she wanted to run, to hide. But she trusted the human to guide her. Suddenly, a branch snapped behind them, and her body tensed violently. She expected the hunters to notice immediately, to come rushing toward them, but the human reacted with lightning speed. Grabbing her and pulling her behind a thick tree, his eyes were fierce, protective, and she felt a strange warmth spread through her, safety and awe mingling in her chest. The hunters moved closer, their shouts echoing, demanding her to show herself. She could see their shadows stretching across the forest floor, large and threatening. Her mind raced. She had never felt fear like this, not from humans before, not from anyone. The human beside her whispered something softly, and she could not understand the words, but the tone was confident, commanding, almost like a promise. Then something unexpected happened. The human reached into his bag and pulled out a small device. Glowing softly, he activated it, and a pulse of light spread across the clearing, startling the hunters. Their shadows flickered, and they stumbled. Confused and disoriented, the alien girl watched, amazed. How could a human do this? How could he manipulate the environment so effortlessly? Using the moment, he led her silently through the undergrowth, avoiding every sound, every branch, every fallen leaf that could give them away. She followed, her heart racing, her mind a whirlwind of awe and disbelief. The hunters shouted behind them, frustrated, but they were too late. The human moved like a shadow, invisible and precise, and she began to understand the power he held, not just in strength, but in knowledge and cleverness. Finally, they reached a hidden stream, water flowing softly over rocks. The human knelt and gestured for her to drink. She bent down cautiously, the sound of rushing water calming her. Her body relaxed slightly, but her mind was still sharp. She realized that danger was never far, and that trust had to be earned, and she had begun to earn it. The human spoke softly this time, words she could not understand. But the meaning was clear. We are safe for now. He pointed to a narrow path leading up a hill. Hidden by thick foliage, she understood they needed to move. There was more danger ahead, but also a chance for her to survive. And maybe, just maybe, to understand humans better. As they moved up the hidden path, she felt the suspense tighten around her. The forest seemed darker now, the shadows longer, the sounds sharper. Every step could bring discovery. Every turn could bring attack, and yet She felt a strange confidence walking beside the human. Her fear and trust mingled. A new emotion she could not name. She looked at him, noticing the small scars on his hands, the calm in his eyes, the way he moved with purpose. She realized that humans were not what she had expected. Some were clever, brave, and kind. Some could protect without hesitation. Some could surprise her completely. The suspense of what lay ahead made her pulse quicken, every nerve alive. And then, from the shadows, she saw a flicker of movement, something larger than a human, something she had not expected. Her body froze, and her heart leapt. The human noticed immediately, signaling her to stay behind. His eyes sharp, his body ready, she realized the true test had arrived. The forest was no longer just a hiding place. It was a battlefield of trust, courage, and survival. The alien girl knew one thing clearly. She had expected humans to kill her, to see her as weak. But the one beside her had done something completely unexpected. He had protected her, guided her, and shown her a glimpse of what humans could be. And now, the real danger had arrived, testing their trust, their courage, and their bond. The alien girl and the human moved carefully through the dense forest. Every step calculated, her muscles ached, her mind alert. She had never felt danger so close, yet never felt protection so strong. The human moved ahead, silently signaling her to follow, and she obeyed, trusting him more with every cautious step. They reached a narrow valley, hidden between jagged cliffs. The sunlight barely reached the ground, making the shadows deep and strange. She felt a chill, the kind that ran down her spine. The forest behind them had been dangerous, but here it felt heavier, older, as if something was watching. She glanced at the human, who appeared calm, scanning every shadow, his eyes sharp and alert. A sudden noise broke the quiet, a low, guttural growl, echoing through the valley. Her body tensed, instinct telling her to run. But the human crouched slightly, motioning for her to stay calm. The growl grew louder, and from the shadows emerged creatures she had never seen before. Tall and thin, their eyes glowing faintly red. Moving with unnatural speed, she gasped, frozen in place. The human stepped forward, raising his hands, his calm presence almost daring the creatures to come closer. She watched in awe, not understanding how he could face such danger without fear. The creatures hesitated, tilting their heads, sniffing the air, their movements careful, almost cautious. He spoke softly, words she could not understand. But the creatures seemed to obey, stepping back slowly, almost as if listening to him. Her mind raced. How could a human have such control, such influence? She had expected humans to attack, to fight, to panic, yet this one moved like a shadow, precise, fearless, and somehow commanding. She felt a new sense of trust growing, though danger still pulsed around them like a living thing. They moved quickly but silently, deeper into the valley, the creatures still watching from the shadows, their glowing eyes following their every move. The alien girl's heart pounded, every sound amplified in her ears. She noticed small paths carved into the rocks, hidden from plain sight, and realized the human had known exactly where to go. They reached a small ledge overlooking a river below. The water shimmered faintly under the light filtering through the cliffs. He gestured for her to rest and drink. She bent down cautiously, the water cool and refreshing. Her body relaxed slightly, but her mind remained sharp, aware that the creatures could return at any moment. While she drank, she noticed strange markings on the rocks, symbols she could not understand. She tilted her head, curiosity mixing with unease. What did these markings mean? Were they warnings, traps, or guides? She looked at the human, hoping he could explain, but he only nodded slightly, as if telling her to be careful and watch. Suddenly, The quiet was shattered by a loud crack, a branch breaking under heavy weight. She froze immediately, her body trembling, expecting the creatures to attack, but the human moved faster than she could follow, pulling her behind a large rock just in time. From the shadows emerged a group of humans, armed and dangerous, searching for her, their eyes scanning, their voices harsh and commanding. She realized the danger was not just the forest, but the humans themselves. The human beside her stayed calm, observing, calculating. He gestured for her to stay silent, and she obeyed, her trust in him overriding the fear screaming in her mind. They needed a plan, fast, or they would be trapped, using hand signals. He guided her to a narrow passage between rocks, almost invisible from the human hunter's position. She moved cautiously, her body pressed against the wall. Every nerve alert, every sound made her jump. But the human's calmness reassured her. She followed silently, her mind racing with awe and disbelief. How could one human be so clever, so brave, so different from everything she had feared? Finally, they reached a hidden cave behind a waterfall, the roar of the water masking their entry. She gasped at the beauty and safety of the place. The human gestured for her to rest, and for the first time in hours, she let herself relax, her body heavy with exhaustion, her mind buzzing with adrenaline and curiosity. While she rested, she noticed him preparing small tools and devices. Some she recognized, others completely strange. She wondered what they could do, how he knew how to use them. His cleverness seemed limitless, his mind always thinking, always protecting. She felt a strange admiration growing, mixed with something unfamiliar, something like hope. The suspense did not leave her mind. She knew the danger was still out there, waiting, watching, planning. She had trusted humans to kill her, to see her as weak. But this one had done something completely unexpected. He had protected her, guided her, and shown her courage, cleverness, and kindness she had never imagined. As they rested, the shadows outside shifted, the forest alive with movement. She realized that survival was more than just hiding. It was about trust, strategy, and understanding, and slowly, she began to see that humans could be unpredictable. Dangerous, yes, but also capable of incredible courage, compassion, and ingenuity. She looked at him once more, noticing the determination in his eyes, the scars on his hands, the calmness in his voice, the cleverness in his actions. She understood something important, that trusting him was not weakness. It was survival. It was a bond forming, a connection that could carry them through the dangers yet to come. And in that moment, the alien girl knew one thing clearly. Her journey was far from over. The forest, the creatures, and the humans hunting her would test them again. But with this human beside her, she felt a strange courage, a new sense of hope. Ready to face whatever came next, the alien girl awoke to a faint sound of movement outside the cave. Her body tensed immediately, every muscle ready. She could feel the forest watching, alive with anticipation. She looked at the human beside her, who was already awake, his eyes scanning the shadows with sharp precision. He did not speak, but his gaze told her everything. Danger was near, and they had to be ready. They stepped carefully out of the cave, moving silently through the dense forest. The sunlight was weak, barely breaking through the thick canopy. The shadows stretched long, strange shapes twisting among the trees. Every sound, every rustle, every whisper of wind felt threatening. Her senses were on fire, and yet she felt a strange comfort knowing he was beside her. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air, and her heart leapt. She froze, recognizing the sound. The hunters, but not ordinary ones. They were elite, more dangerous, more determined. Their footsteps heavy, voices harsh. They moved like predators. and she realized the forest itself seemed to warn her. Danger was closing in fast. The human crouched low, motioning for her to stay silent, his eyes darting around, analyzing every angle, every tree, every shadow, every rock. He whispered softly in a language she could not understand, but the meaning was clear. "Follow me, stay close." "Trust me," she obeyed, her heart pounding, following him like a shadow, every step careful, precise. The hunters appeared ahead, surrounding a narrow path. Their eyes sharp, weapons ready, she gasped silently, realizing they were trapped. No escape in sight. Every instinct screamed to flee. But the human beside her stayed calm, a plan forming in his mind. She watched as he reached into his bag, pulling out a small device that glowed softly. Its light pulsed, strange patterns forming, and she felt something shift in the air. The hunters stopped, confused, their movements jerky, as if the light from the device unsettled them. She could not understand how it worked, but she saw its effect. They hesitated, and the human took the chance, moving swiftly, guiding her through hidden paths and narrow passages. She followed silently, barely breathing, amazed at his speed and cleverness. Suddenly, a creature lunged from the shadows, taller and faster than the ones before, its claws scraping the ground. Eyes glowing red, she froze, terror gripping her. But the human acted instantly, using a small gadget to emit a bright light, startling the creature, and it recoiled, confused and blinded. She watched, heart racing, as he moved with precision, protecting her without a single word. They continued moving deeper into the forest until they reached a hidden gorge. Narrow and treacherous, water rushed below, rocks slippery and dangerous. She hesitated, fearing they might fall. But he reached out a hand, steady and calm, and she took it, feeling a strange trust and courage flow through her. Together, they moved across the gorge. One careful step at a time, her mind raced with questions. How could one human be so clever, so brave, so in control? The danger surrounding them was immense. Yet he never panicked, never faltered. His calmness was magnetic, pulling her through fear, and for the first time, she began to see humans differently. Not all were cruel, not all were dangerous. Some were capable of incredible courage and kindness. Suddenly, the hunters appeared again, blocking their path, weapons raised, eyes sharp. Ready to attack, she froze, expecting the end. But the human did not falter. He raised the glowing device, and the light pulsed stronger, strange symbols forming in the air. And the hunters stumbled, disoriented, their coordination failing. She gasped, awe and fear mixing in her chest. Using the moment, he pulled her through a hidden tunnel, narrow and dark. They moved silently, every sense alert. The forest outside grew distant, but she could feel the danger following, the pulse of fear never leaving, only tempered by the trust she now felt in him. They emerged in a small clearing, the air fresh, the danger momentarily behind them. The alien girl sank to the ground, exhausted, her body trembling. She looked at him, noticing the sweat on his brow, the intensity in his eyes, and the determination etched in every movement. She realized fully now. The human had risked everything to protect her, to guide her, to save her from dangers she could not survive alone. A strange feeling grew inside her, a mix of awe, trust, and something warmer, something like hope. She had expected humans to kill her, to see her as weak. But this one had done the unexpected. He had shown bravery, cleverness, kindness, and protection beyond anything she had imagined. She knew the final test was near. The hunters would return, or the creatures lurking would strike again, and they would have to face it together. Her bond with him had grown strong, but so had the suspense. The real danger was not just survival. It was trust, courage, and the choices they would make in the moments ahead. And as the shadows stretched long across the clearing, the alien girl realized one thing clearly. With this human beside her, she had a chance to survive, a chance to understand, a chance to believe in humans again. The ultimate threat was coming, and she had to be ready. For what lay ahead would test everything she thought she knew. The alien girl crouched behind a rock, her heart pounding, her senses stretched to the limit. Every sound in the forest amplified. The hunters and the creatures had not given up. She could feel their presence pressing closer. The human beside her moved silently, his eyes scanning the shadows, his body tense but calm. Ready for anything, she looked at him, trying to understand his calmness. How could he remain so collected when danger was all around? Her mind raced, fear mixing with awe. She realized she had come to trust him completely, not just because he protected her, but because he had shown her courage and cleverness beyond what she had imagined. Suddenly, a loud roar split the air. The creatures from before had returned, larger and more aggressive. Their glowing eyes locked on them, and their claws scraped the earth as they moved. The alien girl froze, expecting the end. But the human did not hesitate. He reached into his bag and pulled out multiple glowing devices. Activating them one by one, the lights pulsed, forming strange patterns in the air. The creatures paused, confused and disoriented. Their aggressive movements slowed, giving them a moment to act. She watched, amazed, as he guided her through hidden paths, leading them away from the immediate danger, every step precise, calculated, like he had prepared for this moment. But the hunters had followed. Surrounding them from another angle, she felt trapped, panic rising. The human noticed her fear and placed a hand gently on her shoulder, a silent promise of protection. She felt warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she had not known in a long time. And for the first time, fear mingled with trust. The human spoke softly, words she could not understand. But the meaning was clear. We need to act now. He gestured toward a narrow cliff path, hidden by thick foliage, and they moved swiftly, climbing and jumping, avoiding the hunter's line of sight. The creatures behind them hesitated, slowed by the strange pulsing lights. Giving them precious seconds, the alien girl struggled to keep up. Her body exhausted, her mind alert, she glanced at him, noting the determination etched on his face. Every movement precise, brave, and clever. She realized that humans were capable of far more than she had ever imagined. Some were brave, some kind, some clever, and he was all of these. They reached the edge of a cliff overlooking a wide river. Rushing below, the hunters had almost caught up, their shouts echoing through the forest. But the human did not panic. He scanned the area quickly, then whispered to her, pointing toward a narrow hidden path leading down to the water. She nodded, understanding immediately. Together, they moved carefully, one step at a time, her hands gripping his arm for support. Trusting him completely now, her heart raced. Every second filled with suspense, every noise, every shadow threatening to end their escape. The creatures growled behind them, the hunters shouting, but they did not falter. They moved with precision, courage, and determination. Finally, they reached the water's edge, the river wide and fast. Yet the human did not hesitate. He had found a small, hidden raft among the reeds. They climbed aboard quickly, the river carrying them away from the hunters and the creatures. The alien girl sank to the bottom of the raft, exhausted, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She looked at him, truly seeing him for the first time. The calm, the cleverness, the bravery, and the kindness etched in every movement. She realized fully now, he had risked everything to save her. He had done something completely unexpected, showing her a side of humans she had never known. She felt something inside her shift, a bond forming that she had never imagined possible. As the river carried them downstream, the hunters and creatures fading behind them, she leaned back, letting herself breathe, her body trembling with relief. She had expected humans to kill her, to see her as weak. But this human had protected her, guided her, and shown her courage and kindness beyond expectation. The sun began to rise, the forest glowing faintly in the morning light. She felt a sense of hope, a feeling she had not known in a long time. She looked at him again, noticing the small scars on his hands, the determination in his eyes, and the calm strength he carried. She knew that whatever dangers lay ahead, they could face them together. For the first time, she smiled genuinely, a mixture of relief, trust, and admiration. The human smiled back, a small, quiet gesture, but it carried more meaning than words could express. The alien girl realized that the world was unpredictable, full of danger and surprise, but also full of kindness, courage, and unexpected bonds. And as the river carried them forward, she understood one final truth. Humans could be dangerous, yes, but some were capable of incredible bravery, cleverness, and kindness. And in this human beside her, she had found someone who had changed her perception forever. She had expected fear and violence, but he had given her hope, protection, and trust. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she felt ready to face whatever lay ahead, confident that with him, she could survive, learn, and maybe even belong. The shadows of the forest behind them, the river ahead, she embraced the uncertainty, knowing that the unexpected could be the most powerful force of all.